between means everything might have turned down, everything upside down. So where did we stop? Hello? Dynamic programming, I guess. Can you people hear me? Hello? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, you're audible, sir.
Okay. Okay. So I think we were discussing dynamic programming, and I'll just share the screen. Okay. Recording already started, I guess. So, okay. So this was the concept which we are learning. So we were learning all the strategies, uh, algorithm design strategies, out of which greedy we discussed. Greedy has certain properties where we will follow a particular rule or decision till the end of the problem, and at any stage we will be checking whether that decision is satisfied, and if some set of solutions satisfy this decision sequence, then we will put that into the feasible solution space. Otherwise, we will ignore. Dynamic programming means it is checking all the possibilities, and it has a difference with divide and conquer, such that divide and conquer will check for all the cases, but in dynamic programming, the sub problems will be there can be common subproblems, shared subproblems. And what is the advantage is if some subproblem is shared, then you don't need to solve it again and again, because it is shared and it is already solved. And if it is known to be already solved, then you don't need to solve it again. That is the advantage of dynamic programming over divide and conquer strategy. And this is clear with the example of Fibonacci series. I guess this we discussed, or else we will come to know more about this once we discuss actual real world problems taken from various domains. So when it is applied means it is possible to make a if it is not possible to make a sequence of stepwise decisions. So this is the feature of the greedy algorithm. Greedy means we should be able to make a sequence of stepwise decisions. But whenever this is not possible, we need to resort to other methods, which is dynamic programming. And then an optimal decision sequence leading to an optimal decision sequence, or then we should try all the possibilities. So all these things I think we have discussed. Now enumerate all the decision sequences and pick out the best. You should distinguish between brute force and dynamic programming, because here we will list out all the decision sequences, not the solutions. So that is a difference. In brute force, we will list out all the solutions. So there are slight difference, not slight difference. Actually, there are big differences between each strategies, but they'll share some certain commonalities between them. So that is often drastically, yeah. These things we already saw, I think. So don't need to. And this principle of optimality, maybe after discussing the entire set of problems, maybe we'll come back and discuss. That would be the right time to discuss principle of optimality. So we are skipping this slide. Then it tries out to all possible solutions, not solutions, all possible decision sequences that leads to the solutions, not all solutions. If you list out all possible solutions, it will be brute force technique. So this also we will not focus now, because this is related to principle of optimality. Then we have some examples. So these many problems we will discuss in this module in the subsequent lectures, like zero and knapsack, Floyd-Warshall algorithm, which is again a all pair shortest path algorithm. But this problem is not there in this module. This is in fourth module, I guess, fourth or fifth. Then the longest common subsequence, which we will discuss in this module itself, traveling salesperson also, and then matrix chain multiplication. These are the differences between greedy and dynamic programming. So this is a compare and contrast kind of slide. So both are used to solve optimization problems. That is a similarity. Greedy follows a predefined procedure, we know, and which will always result in the minimization of something, some cost, if it is a minimization problem, or else maximization. So such strategies to be followed in greedy. Dynamic programming tries out all possible solutions or decision sequences that leads to solutions and finds the optimal decision sequence. That is the difference. Dynamic programming often uses recursive formula. So mostly you can find the recursive formula along with some dynamic programming problems. And it follows principle of optimality. Again, since this point we did not discuss, we will leave this also. In greedy, the decision making is one time, but in dynamic programming, every time you are making decisions. Okay, at each stage of your decision will change. But in greedy, the decision will not change. If you remember our Prim's algorithm, every time you will choose edge which is having the lowest weight. Okay, so that is the decision, and that decision will be taken at any point. Now there are again certain differences in greedy method. Only one time decision sequence. It is the same thing. This is a paraphrased version of the last point. Uh, Greedy method, only one decision sequence is ever generated. That is true. But in the case of dynamic programming, it is not like that. In dynamic programming, many decision sequences may be generated depending upon the situation, depending upon the progress. Our decision making sequence will differ. Okay. So again, this is these things are scored off because it is connected to principle of optimality. Solutions of subproblems are retained. Yeah, this is the memoization. I told you what is memoization and tabulation, and this is Fibonacci sequence. If you consider, if you have solved fib of 3 or 4, then you can store it in a table. That is why. Then what the advantage that we get is we will don't need to solve it again and again. You have the answer with you. So that is known as memoization, and this is tabulation. So this is why we call it as dynamic programming. In this context, the programming means tabulation. We told you, or we discussed it in the first slide itself. It is just tabulation, not programming. Okay. Now let us discuss backtracking. This is the last strategy. Even in fact, we have several strategies, but we will discuss backtracking, and several strategies are there. But as far as this course is concerned, backtracking is the last strategy. So we have greedy, divide and conquer, greedy, this backtracking, and dynamic programming. These four strategies we will discuss in this course, right through this course, and all the algorithms that we discuss in this course will belong to any of these categories. So now let us discuss backtracking. Backtracking, first point is it is not for optimization problems. You can see it. It is not for optimization problems. So it is not for maximization or minimization. It is for another context. We may have multiple solutions. Sometimes the same problem will have multiple solutions. There can be multiple solutions. I'll give you example shortly. We have multiple solutions and we want all the solutions. We want all the solutions. Unlike optimization, optimization means we need the optimized solution only, either the maximized result or the minimized result. We don't need any other result. But in the case of some other kind of problems, which are not optimization problems, there will have more than one results, and we need all those results. In such situation, you can apply backtracking. So if it is unlike optimization problem, you will be mostly using greedy or dynamic programming. But in the case of this kind of situation, you can use backtracking. So it can be considered as a modified brute force. Okay, it's a modified brute force. So brute force and backtracking, they are closely related, but backtracking has several other features which makes it absolutely efficient compared to brute force. Brute force, all of us know it is inefficient. Brute force includes all solutions, whereas backtracking backtracks for infeasible cases. This is the difference. In brute force, you list out all the possible solutions and you will select the best one. Okay. But in the case of backtracking, we will backtrack. We are ready to correct ourselves. We will go back. Once a solution is seems to be infeasible, then and there we will go back and stop discussing that solution because it will not take you to the good result. But in the case of brute force, you will list out whatever, whether it is right or wrong, without thinking anything, we will list out all the solutions and select the best one. But in this case, we will go back. We are ready to correct ourselves. That is why it's known as backtracking. We will go back. Okay. Backtracking is a strategy that incrementally builds candidate solutions. So in every step, we will get one candidate solution, and it abandons a candidate as soon as it determines that the candidate cannot possibly be completed to a valid solution. If a particular candidate solution will not take us to the right answer, if you feel that, then only you will, then and there you will stop proceeding with that solution. That candidate solution will be abandoned at that point itself. So this is the difference between brute force and backtracking. When I tell you an example, this will be clear, I guess. So represent the solution as state space tree. So these are some of the terminologies in backtracking, that is state space tree and bounding function. State space tree and a bounding function are the two terminologies that we need to know in the case of backtracking. Okay, now I'll give you one example of a backtracking algorithm so that it will be easy. So all of you are following? Hello?
Yes, sir.
All of you,
Yes,
everyone,
Yes, sir.
everyone join. Let
Yes,
me
sir.
see.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, sir.
Okay. 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 Thank you for responses. I think today it's very difficult for me. 40 plus 20 equal to 60. Okay, almost 60 are there. Okay, good. So we will see an example of backtracking because I told you what is the first point. You carefully read here. What is the first point here? It's not for optimization problems. First point. You can read the second point also. We may have multiple solutions and we want all. This is very important. In this case, you can use backtracking. So you will be surprised how a problem can have multiple solutions. Can you tell me an example of a problem which has multiple solutions? And we want all the solutions. May not be very, it is actually very familiar, but if I ask you
So like
suddenly,
factors of a number.
sorry.
So like factors of a number.
Yeah, factors of error. Exactly. You will have multiple solutions, and we want all those solutions, not like just one solution or two solutions. Suppose factors of 10 means you will have 3 or 4 numbers, then all the 4 numbers we want. That's a good example, like that, in many cases. So now I wanted to just introduce, because we will discuss this NQINS problem and Nystrom, then you will be clear about this. But before that, I just wanted to give you a flavor of backtracking. That is why I'll just discuss a small problem, because I wanted to introduce these two concepts, the state space tree and bounding function. Okay. So I will give you an example, like we have three kids, out of them two are boys, boy one, boy two, and girl. Boy one, boy two, and girl. One girl and two boys. We have two kids, two small, three kids, three small kids, let us assume. And we have three chairs like this. Suppose we want to make these kids sit in this chair. In how many ways can you sit these three kids in this chair, in these three chairs? In how many ways? This is the first chair, this is the second chair, this is the third chair. So what are the different possibilities? Let us illustrate this with the help of a state space tree. With the state space tree means this is a node, and every edges will represent a candidate solution, at least a partial candidate solution. So this corresponds to the first chair. In the first chair, we can make the boy 1 to sit. In the second chair, we can make boy 2 to sit. And in the third chair, we can make the girl sit. Okay. So this is one solution. This is one path in the state space tree. This is a root to leaf path. And if you traverse from root to leaf path, each edge will represent a partial solution. And if you select a complete path, you will get the complete solution. So is this one arrangement? Will you agree with me? Boy one in the first chair, boy two in the
yes,
second chair, and girl in the second chair. Is it a girl in the third chair? Is it a valid solution?
yes, sir.
Yes, this is a valid solution. Can you tell me another solution? Boy one in the first chair, girl in the second chair, and boy two in the third chair. Is it a valid solution? If you trace this path now, instead of, if you trace this path, you will get one solution. If you trace this path, you will get another solution. So this is a forming a tree, and this tree is known as actually the state space tree, and each root to leaf path in the state space tree will give you a solution, and each edge will give you a partial solution. So here B1, G, B2, is it a valid arrangement for these three kids? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
It's a valid arrangement. B1, B2, B1, boy 1 is in the first chair, girl in the second chair, and boy 2 in the third chair. Now tell me another solution. Any further solution with boy 1 in the first chair? Any further solution, any further options with boy 1 in the
No, sir.
first chair? No.
No, sir.
Then
No,
we need to start another leaf, another route to leave another path here from root. That is, here I can make the boy 2 to sit, and then I can make the girl to sit here, and I can make the boy 1 to sit here. So is it another solution? Is it another solution?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Can you tell me another solution with the boy 2 in the first chair itself?
Sir, boy 2, boy 1, girl.
Yes. Boy 2, boy 1, girl. So you will make a split from here, not from here. Okay. Boy 1, girl. So this is another valid solution. Now we got 4 valid solutions. You see? And now another option is there. You can make the girl to sit in the first chair. Girl in the first chair. Then which are the options? Which are the options? Boy 1 in the first chair and boy 2 in the second. Boy 2, 1 in the second chair, boy 2 in the third chair. Like that, girl in the first chair, boy, boy 2 in the second chair, and boy 1 in the first chair. So these are the various solutions. Or let me ask you, any other solutions, any further solutions? There will be six arrangements, right? So from our combinatorial classes, if you go back, you can understand that there are 6 options, and in this tree, this is known as the state space tree. So this is the state space tree. So in this state space tree, you have 6 root to leaf paths, and each of them is a solution. So this is a problem where you can have multiple solutions to the same problem, and we need all the solutions. So any one of the root to leaf path you take, it will be an arrangement of 3 kids according to our requirements. Okay. So this is known as a state space tree, and I should introduce the bounding function now. Then you can ask me, what is the difference between brute force and this backtracking? You can ask me, because brute force also lists out all the solutions. Backtracking also lists out all the solutions. Then what is the difference? You can ask me. Okay. So now I will impose some constraints or conditions. I can have some constraints. So if I impose the constraints, is just the problem is just the same. We have 3 kids, 2 boys and 1 girl. We have 3 chairs. We want to arrange these 3 kids in these 3 chairs. But one condition I am imposing, the girl should not sit in the middle of 2 boys. So B1, B2 and girl. This should not happen. Girl cannot sit in the middle of 2 boys, or girl cannot sit in the middle chair. If I impose that condition and then start drawing the state space tree, how will it look like? Let us start growing the state space tree. So then you will understand the difference between backtracking and brute force. So can the boy 1 sit in the first chair according to this condition? Is it possible? Boy 1, is it against the constraint, or is it go along with the constraint?
Go along, sir.
It will go along with the constraint. So B1 can sit here. Can I make the girl sit here?
No, sir.
No, sir.
No, this is not possible. So this is actually, if it is brute force, we will list out this and we will remove such cases. But here in backtracking, here itself we understand that we are heading towards a incorrect solution. This is an incorrect solution. So this node will be killed here itself. This node is killed here itself, and this killing process is using a bounding function. So here we apply a bounding function and kill this node. So this node is killed because this root to leaf path will not take you to a correct solution, because if you follow like this, the girl will be sitting in between 2 boys, which is against our problem, which is against our problem statement. So this is wrong. So here itself we killed this node. We will not proceed further. In this way, you can save a lot of computational time. So this is the difference. We will go back. So how will you go back? You take out this girl from the middle chair and place the boy 2 there. Now is it valid? Up to this point, is it valid? Hello, tell me.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
In this path, we will understand that the leftmost path, if you take, we will understand that boy 1 we placed there. We placed in the second chair. We made the girl to occupy. then only we understand that this is not possible. So we will take out the girl, and instead of the girl, we will make the boy to occupy in the second chair. And this seems to be heading towards a correct solution. Then we will continue with this, and we will make the girl to sit in the last chair. So this is possible. So you can, have you understood? So here, from here we backtracked. So here we backtracked to this point again, because it is going towards a wrong solution. So there itself, this node is killed. This node cannot grow any further, and we applied the bounding function. So this is not possible. Now you can make here, can I make the girl to sit here in the first chair? According to our problem statement, can the girl sit in the first chair? What is the condition? The girl should not sit in between two boys.
Yes, sir.
That
Yes,
means you can make the girl sit in the first chair, because if the girl sits in the first chair, she will not be in between two boys. So no problem. So girl is here. Now this is a valid solution. Don't need to kill. Okay. I'll make my boy 1 to sit here. I'll make my boy 2 to sit here. What is another arrangement with the girl in the first chair? I can have my boy 2 in the second chair and boy 1 in the third chair. These two are valid solutions. These two are valid solutions. Now let us go like this. I will make my boy 2 to sit in the first chair. And if I make my girl to sit here, is it possible?
No, sir.
Will it take us to a valid solution? No. We realized this here itself. If it were brute force, we will make this solution and check finally. But in backtracking, we will not wait for the final moment. We will not wait for the last minute. We realized that this is going towards an incorrect solution. Stop it. So apply the bounding function, kill this node. So this node will not grow anymore. Now, if I take out the girl and make my boy 1 to sit there, that is possible. And then I can make my girl to sit in the third chair. So this is possible. So these are the 4 solutions. Now you can see here we have 6 solutions, because our problem was all the arrangements. But here I have, this is skilled. This is a valid solution. This is a valid solution. This is a valid solution. And this is a valid solution. So here my solution is 4 solutions I have. The 2 solutions, as and when I realized that they are heading towards a wrong answer, I stopped. This idea is known as backtracking. This is backtracking. We will backtrack. Whenever we realize that it is going towards a wrong solution, stop it. Apply the bounding function. Kill the node in the state space tree. So for that, we need to understand what is state space tree. State space tree is the tree of solutions in which each edge is a partial solution and one route to leaf path is a full solution. So here there is no route to leaf full path. This is killed. So this is not a solution. Here instead we have the path. So this is a solution. This is. These 4 are solutions to our invalid solutions. So this is actually the process. Okay. So you understood the idea of backtracking? Everyone, hello?
Yes, sir.
Yes, okay. Okay. So that is the idea of backtracking. When we discuss these 2 problems, NQueen problem and Knight's tour, then we will understand more. It's better because NQueen's problem, we have to do it in the lab also. So we will discuss it a little detail, but this is the general idea. Whatever is the problem, this will be the idea. Okay. So in this way, we will do backtracking experiments. Okay. So with this, I think we can stop this particular lecture, that is the various different types of algorithm design strategies. So we have discussed all the algorithm design strategies that will come across in this course. Dynamic programming, greedy, divide and conquer, and backtracking. These are the 4 ideas. Even branch and bound is there. Many other ways are there. Even brute force we discussed. Branch and bound is another important way, but that is somehow missing from the syllabus. Branch and bound is again very interesting. This branch and bound and backtracking, they are similar. Okay. And there's many problems using branch and bound, like graph coloring, several problems are there, several interesting problems are there. So with this, let us stop the discussion on this topic, but let us now hereafter how the class will be, I'll tell you. We will be selecting one algorithm from the syllabus, which will be from some domain, It can be from mathematics, it can be from biology, it can be from computer science even. We will take some algorithm and we will apply any of the techniques that we have learned so far. We can apply backtracking, we can apply branch and no branch and bound, dynamic programming, greedy, or divide and conquer, or even brute force. Any algorithm design strategy will be applied to any of the problems, and we will solve that problem. And some of these problems we will do in the lab also. So hereafter it will be algorithms. Altogether you will have some 20 or 25 algorithms in the syllabus, taken from various domains. That can be from geometry, that can be from computer science, graph theory, string matching kind of algorithms, which have applications in biology and chemistry. So from all these domains, we will take problems and we will apply. So first problem that we are going to discuss is, I'll just introduce the problem and I'll stop the class. I think I have one exam duty today from 10 to 12, means I should log in by 9:30. But anyhow, I'll join by 9:35. Okay. So I'll just introduce the problem. This is Huffman coding. So Huffman coding means design. Yeah, this is Huffman coding. So the problem is Huffman coding. It is just coding. You can see the word coding. And what do you mean by data compression? Do you have the subjects of networking this time? Networking, computer networks, or some kind of?
No, sir.
No, sir.
No. Okay, then it will be there in the future semester. Networking will be there, and information security. These two are very important subjects for computer science students. So this you will learn in future semester, if not today or this semester. So data compression. What is the requirement of data compression? What is the requirement of compression? Any way, in any scenario, what is the requirement of compression? Not necessarily data compression. What is the requirement of compression? Suppose you have some dress clothes and you have a small bag. What will you do?
So to fit maximum amount of things in a particular storage space.
Particular space. So you will compress your clothes. Okay. To the extent possible, you will try to squeeze them and compress them somehow to fit into the bag. So, but to some extent, the compression after a certain point you cannot compress because it will be the maximum. Your clothes cannot be compressed anymore. So like that, in order to save space, you have to compress things. Okay, if your bag is small and you have to carry a lot of clothes, then you should compress. So like that, this is applicable everywhere. So data compression means we should compress the data. And what is the advantage of compressing the data? Advantage of compressing the data is you can save a lot of space and you can store more data. If the data is in compressed form, not in its original form, but in compressed form, you can store more data, obviously. Okay. And when you communicate data, then compressed data means it will be very easy to communicate because you can save a lot of bandwidth. Suppose you have some 100 GB video or 10 GB video you have, 10 GB if you try to send or receive, it will have a lot of bandwidth requirements. Your bandwidth efficiency, if it is not quite high, the streaming quality will be very less. In that case, you can compress the 10 GB data to 2 GB or something, so that your data requirement, bandwidth requirement should be very less. And so for that, some encoding technique is to be applied before sending. So encode the data from 10 GB to 2 GB. And then there is a network. This is the network. You will send the data through the network. At the receiving end, you will be receiving 2 GB data. This can be decoded to 10 GB again. This can be decoded to 10 GB again. And at the receiving end, you can play the video so that the quality will not be lost. But while communication, in order to reduce the bandwidth requirements, we will compress the 10 GB data to 2 GB and send it to the receiver. So this is there are several techniques. These all techniques you will learn in your networking course or in your information security course. That we will not discuss here. But here in general, what we are going to discuss is, oh, sorry, what happened? Okay. Yeah, here. Okay. I was trying to erase this. Yeah, okay. So that is the requirement. That is the problem requirement of data compression. You can just connect to its your real life scenario also, packing some clothes before a journey or like that, something like that. Okay. And this has application in storage and communication. Storage and communication, this has applications. Now, another point that you should know at this is, suppose I have a message and I want to communicate it to another person. I have a message. So can you send messages like characters? Like I have a message like have a nice day or something like that. Have a nice day. This is a message that I wanted to communicate. Can I send it like this? If I send it like ordinary techniques, like I can write this on a paper and send it to the other person, that is possible. Then I can use this language. But if I use a computer, then can I use this? What is the only, can I use characters in computer? At the background, I'm asking. In the foreground, you will be sending characters itself. But in the background, what is happening? Each of these characters are converted into what?
So binary.
Binary.
Zeros and ones.
Yes, binary digits or bits, a sequence of zeros and ones, that is the only thing that is understandable to the machine. So maybe last first year Python classes we discussed. Only thing that is understandable to the machine is sequence of zeros and ones, sequence of binary digits, sequence of bits. So whatever you send before sending or before feeding it to the computer, it should be converted into a sequence of bits. So this is a very primary requirement that for storage as well as for communication. Even if you want to store, you are storing some file. Maybe this PPT I will send you and this PPT you will store in your computer. But that will be stored ultimately in the form of a sequence of zeros and ones, not in this data compression. This will not be there in the computer. If you go to the internals, this will not be there, but everything will be converted into sequence of bits. So everything is to be converted to sequence of bits. Now my question is, how many number of bits you need to represent this? That is the question. Suppose I have 1 and 0, how many characters can I encode with 1 and 0? Okay, anyway, binary, this is bits, so you have only 1 and 0, no other option. Only 1 and 0, there is no 2, 3, 4, 5 or anything. You have 1 and 0. Suppose I am using only a single bit, With a single bit, how many characters I can store? You didn't understand the question, right? Have you got the question? So this is,
Yes, sir.
yeah, this is something kind of an encoding and decoding. Suppose I have one A and I have one B. Only I have A and B. My message will consist of 2 characters A and B. Then how many bits I require to encode this message? I don't want A, B, C, D to be seen on the message. I want just zeros or ones. Then how many bits will I require? I can encode my A as 1 and I can encode my B as 0. Is it possible? It's possible. What is the problem?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Now my message is A, B, A, B, B, A, A. Then how will I encode this message with bits? A means it is 1. B means 0, 1, 0, 0, 1, 1. So this means, so this is an encoding. I have A, B, A, B, A. So A I am using with 1 and B I used to with 0. So this is a sequence. So this is the sequence. And if I communicate 1, 1, 0, 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, what will be, how can this be decoded at the receiving end? How can this be with this encoding scheme? So this is the encoding scheme. With this encoding scheme, how this will be decoded?
Sir,
One-
A, B, B, A.
1 means A, 1 means A, 0 means B, 0 means B, 1 means A, 0 means A. Again 1 means A. Okay. This is how you can encode and this is how you can decode. So if both the sender and receiver know the coding scheme, they can encode and decode without any trouble. Okay, understood? So this is how you can use, but let me stop now. We will continue this discussion. You can think of it. Suppose if I have a long message like if I have A, B and C, then how many bits do I require? How many bits do I require? A, B and C, so that whatever is encoded should be correctly decoded at the receiving end. How many bits will I require? That is my question. So if my message only consists of A and B, then I need only 2 bits, that is 0 and 1. Now if I have ABC, before this question, what I can do? If I have ABC, what can I do? This is the question. What can I do? You think of it. Okay, and come back and reply in the next class. You can respond in the next class. With this, let me stop since I have exam duty. I should join now. It's already late. So we will meet in the next class answering all these questions and maybe covering the Huffman code. So thank you very much.
Thank you,
Your
sir.
doubts will be taken
Thank
in
you,
the next
sir.
class since we don't have time. Okay, attendance is available. You may leave. Thank you. Thank you. See you. Bye.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.